Today's video is titled, What Drove a Mother to Kill Her Autistic Son? And it's from 60 Minute Australia. I haven't seen it before. I'll be watching it with you. I wanted to say a special thank you to Miss Miller for thinking about me halfway across the world. You never know who's on the other side of the screen. Thank you for taking time out of your day and thinking about me. I really appreciate it. And it couldn't have been a better day. I was actually having a bad day that day, and I checked my mailbox and I'm like, this is what my grandmother meant when she said God doesn't come, but he sends. He sends at the right time, at the right place, from the right person. So thank you so much, Miss Miller. May you be blessed, and may you receive it in your times of need 10 times fold. All right, let's get into the video. Hey special family, so today's video is titled, What Drove a Mother to Kill Her Autistic Son? It's from 60 Minute Australia. I'll leave the link down below. I haven't seen it yet, so we will watch it together.
No doubt you've heard how Daniela Dawes killed her autistic son Jason. You probably have an opinion on the court's decision to let her go free. But there's much more to this family tragedy. For a start, there are the revealing home videos of a very troubled child. But as you'll see, a child who could be cheerful and loving too. Then there's Jason's father, a grieving, angry and bitter man. And always in the background, the unimaginable burden of caring for a child with autism. All clues in this intriguing story of what drove Daniela Dawes to kill her little boy.
I have to live with what happened on August 4, but it's very hard to comprehend that the person that I am ever did such a thing. I miss him so much every day. I wish he was here, and it is so wrong that he's not and I am.
This is home video of Daniela Dawes' son Jason, the little boy she suffocated to death in the family home last year.
I cannot forgive what she has done.
Do you think she should be in prison today?
I believe anybody in Australia who takes a life should go to prison. My wife should be in prison.
In thousands of homes around Australia, this is the reality of living with an autistic child. How long could you cope?
No. It's chaos. It's very chaotic. My day might start at 1 a.m. On a good day, it's about 5 a.m.
Is it every minute of every day?
Yeah. Yep. From the minute you wake up till the minute you fall asleep in your bed until the minute you're woken up again. It's totally full on.
Aidan Fasanella has severe autism. He's 7, but he has the...
Let's pause for a second. I'm thinking the mother snapped and killed her son. But if we look at these examples, I want us to have an idea that we can't put all kids or everybody with autism under one umbrella. And I think that's something that the community is still struggling with, because when your child gets diagnosed, there are 3 different levels of diagnosis. And what level 1 can do, level 3 cannot do. Most of the kids that we've seen from the video, what we've watched so far, are level 3 kids. And level 3 is like having 5 children in one hit. The child, I'll speak for my child, sleeping cycle is not steady. It varies. He can wake up at 1, he can wake up at 2, and he's busy until he goes back to sleep at night. They do not take naps. They are constantly going and going and going. Now, that doesn't give anyone the permission to take a life, because I feel if you take a life, you need to pay the price. I don't care if you snapped. I don't care if you couldn't handle it anymore. That's why there are places like hospitals, police stations, fireplaces, even the churches will take the child in. You can even check your child into the ER and leave and tell them you don't want that child anymore, or you can't do it. Or if your child is severely having a meltdown, they will check your child in. But nothing can excuse you taking that child life. I understand it's hard. It's not an easy task. I live it daily. It's scary, especially if the child is violent and does self-harm. I get it. But that doesn't give me the right to take another human being's life. Because at the end of the day, that child has a right to live just like you do. So taking that child's life is like committing murder. It is committing murder. There's no, well, he's autistic and no, it is a human being. So I don't think we should make excuses or give people chances for taking a life because the child had autism. It's not an excuse. If you can't do it, if you can't deal with it, please take the child, check them into the ER, call the fire station, take them to the police station, say you can't do it. They will take your child from you, especially if you have feelings or thoughts of harming that child. So I just wanted to bring that out. All right, let's continue.
The mental age of a tiny child. Aidan is unable to talk. He's trapped in an often frightening world of his own. His life dominated by bizarre habits and endless repetition.
Because to play for Australia...
It's lonely, it's hard, it's all those things.
Yes, it's very lonely.
Time for trampoline.
Desiree Fasanella is a single mum living just above the poverty line. Raising Aidan has been an exhausting, relentless battle for her. Have you ever been in a place where you've thought, I can't do this anymore?
Oh,
yeah.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Oh, yeah. I just can't do this at this level anymore, you know. But then, you know, you sort of get through the day.
And then I just want to add in there, some days it gets so bad that the child is crying, having a meltdown, and you just sit there and you break down. It's like, help me, somebody just help me, because mentally I'm failing. I am disappearing. Like, I'm drained. But then you have people with autism who come and judge us parents. That's why it hurts so bad to hear them judge us when they don't have to sit and do this 24/7. You have autism. You can speak, you can walk, you can talk, but you don't know what it is to be a level 3. Being a level 3, and I hear the dad keep saying the mom should be in jail. I'm just wondering where the dad was. If you have any idea, I'm watching this with you, you've never seen it before. But if you have, if you've seen it and you know if the dad was in the picture, please link it below, because mostly in these situations, there's the moms that take this on full time. Either the dad leaves or the dad is the breadwinner, but the mom is the full-time caregiver. And I wonder if they stop to think, what about her mental health? Dealing with this child day in, day out, hour in, hour out. It takes a toll on someone. We have days where we're like, I can't do this. I need a break. When Ramsey tear up my house sometime, I just go sit in the middle and I start crying, because if I've cleaned feces all over the house, I change them because he peed the bed or peed himself. Then he probably try to flood the bathroom and I clean that. and that one next thing that he'll do after that, maybe it's just ripping up the garbage bag all over the house, I would burst out crying because I feel like I'm losing my mind. So I want you to imagine that. We're not saying, oh my God, kill this child, but I can understand how it could be overwhelming.
And yeah, another day starts, and just look for the small positives wherever they might come, and dwell on that.
There is enormous stress. The divorce rate is very high. The depression rate is very, very high. The effect that it has on siblings is devastating.
Yeah.
So in personal terms, it's horrendous. At the moment, it's really just building up his vocabulary.
Professor Tony Atwood is a world authority on autism, and all too often the Brisbane psychologist sees families devastated by this chronic disability.
Great.
He says there's simply not enough government support.
It is a burden to have a child with autism, but it is unfortunately made far worse by the system. The parents shouldn't have to fight the system. The system should be there to support them. They have enough to do with their child with autism.
Autism and related conditions affect almost 1 in 100 children in Australia. Now, I'm sure you'd agree that's an alarming statistic. But judging by how much importance our politicians place on treating this condition, you wouldn't think so. Waiting lists for services are endless, and when treatment does become available, it's often too little, too late.
I have to accept responsibility. They were my hands, they were nobody else's. But that wasn't me that day. And there were a lot of things that pushed me to the point where I cracked.
You cracked, but you didn't have to kill him.
Jason Dawes could be a happy, loving boy. But joy could quickly turn to frustration and anger. This 10-year-old child needed round-the-clock care.
Jason couldn't talk. Jason couldn't get dressed on his own. He couldn't get his own food. He wore a nappy to poo. He couldn't brush his own teeth. He couldn't say goodnight. It wasn't easy.
Okay, family photo.
By August last year, Daniela had reached breaking point. Her marriage of 18 years was falling apart. Her father had just died of cancer. She was deeply depressed. All this on top of Jason's autism. On the morning of August 4, she snapped.
He was playing. I, being in a depressed state, wasn't really up for playing. And I remember he ran off, and I know I followed him into the rumpus room, and then it was just something that was all happening before my eyes. I had no control over what was happening that day. I was watching it.
You did it.
And feeling very helpless. It's really hard.
Okay, pause there. A lot of parents that are dealing with kids with severe autism are single parents. And it's funny to see, he said a failing marriage. So maybe the dad had left her and she's probably the only person dealing with this severely autistic child. And then her dad died. And we as special need parents, a lot of us suffer from depression. I know I suffer from depression. Really bad, really bad. But I'm sorry, it does not give you an excuse to commit murder. Even though you could say it was happening before your eyes, you did it. We can blame it on you snapped, but you took a life. I feel like you should be punished for that. Like, I understand that the child was a lot to deal with, but weren't they a human being? Weren't they alive? Don't they have the right to live? If someone would take your life and say they snapped, won't you want justice for yourself, or your family want justice for you? I feel like you had other options, and it's easy for the dad to sit here and point the finger when he was not really involved, and I could understand it took a toll on her, but that still doesn't excuse the point that she killed him. That's just my opinion.
Did you realise what you were doing?
I think I did, but I just had no control over what was happening. It was like being on autopilot. I really, it wasn't a conscious thing that was happening.
There's no question you had terrible problems. You had no support, you had major depression. But does that justify killing your son?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
A detective came over and told me that there was a little boy inside the house. And at that stage I knew my wife had taken my son's life.
Nearly a year on,
Where were
Jason's
you?
father, Craig Dawes, is still struggling with the shock of what he encountered at the family home on that August afternoon.
The fact is, my wife held my son down, placed a hand over his nose and mouth, and held him there until he did not struggle anymore. And there is absolutely no way my son did not struggle.
Yeah, I'm with you
Daniela
on that
Dawes
one.
pleaded guilty to manslaughter, but 2 weeks ago she walked free with a 5-year good behaviour bond. In court, Craig Dawes pleaded that his wife not be jailed, but in the aftermath of her trial, he has changed his mind. He says she should be doing time.
I feel so too.
Well, I was still in love with my wife the day before this happened, and there is love there for my wife, but the deed she has done and the pain she has caused has blocked out a lot of that love for my wife.
I'm wondering where you
I
were.
used to bring Jason down here and play in the afternoons.
Okay, so maybe I misjudged
I miss
the
my
guy.
son a lot. I cry each night. I wish he was with me.
Just how bitter and divided the Dawes family has become was all too apparent as we filmed this story. Daniela left Sydney with their daughter and took out an apprehended violence order against Craig. The bottom line is your family is ripping itself apart.
I would just like to have a bit of...
Hold on. So maybe I misjudged the guy. Maybe he was in the picture. They had marital problems. I get that. But maybe it was one of those situations where the dad is the breadwinner and the mom is the caregiver. And being with her depression and all the stress she was encountering, she snapped. I get that. But then how is she allowed to have the other child with her? Because I could have swear the guy just said she left with a daughter. You killed a son and they gave you the daughter? I'm confused. You guys comment below because help me understand this.
peace. Place my son's ashes, which are at my house, in a place of rest somewhere, and get on with the rest of my life. To go through a loss like this and have it turned around that I now have an AVO on me, what more does my wife want to extract from me?
Ready? Which one is horse? Oh, you remembered too. Well done.
What both Craig and Daniela Dawes do still agree on is that Jason never got the professional care he needed to learn even the most basic of skills. His condition demanded at least 20 hours of therapy a week, but he was lucky to get 3. And to get even that took constant begging from government agencies.
Fighting the battle on my own was very difficult. especially when I was on the phone all day, ringing one department to the next and nobody would help me, and they pass you along.
So it was tough.
Yeah, it was very tough. Eventually it wore me away.
When you heard what had happened to Jason, what was your reaction?
I know she wouldn't have come to that decision without enormous heartbreak over a long period of time. And so my heart went out to her.
Did it surprise you?
No. I think that the pain and despair that she was going through, and also for Jason too, meant how on earth could she continue with that pain and death, both for Jason and herself, was the only way to end the pain.
Professor Tony Atwood examined Jason when he was 3. His advice to Daniela and Craig was that Jason needed immediate therapy. And as they struggled to get that therapy from dozens of different health services, he saw their growing despair. Is it as simple as saying, if he'd had early intervention, it may have been a different story?
I think it would have been a different story.
No.
He had a personality, and I think behind the behaviour was an intellect that I thought we could work on.
There was potential.
Oh yes, definitely.
While there is no cure for autism, it can be...
Let's talk about that statement. If he had intervention, would it be a different story? Would the child be easier to deal with? No. Early intervention doesn't make it easier for the child to deal. Ramsey had early intervention at 2-3 years old, and the older he got, the more violent he got. I mean, early intervention has nothing to do with it. I mean, he knows how to tell you certain things now, and he knows how to take you to get certain things now, but the early intervention does not stop him from having a massive meltdown, does not stop him from being violent. No. So I don't think early intervention has anything to do with it.
He managed.
Because he gets trapped in those autistic mannerisms.
But it needs a whole range of different treatments: speech therapy, occupational therapy, and specialised education.
Oh, and that's a number 2. And so by early intervention, programs that teach all those sorts of skills that person needs, the brain can, in a way, almost repair itself to a certain degree. The politicians need to recognise that autism is here. We think it may be increasing, and that if you invest in early intervention, you save in the long term by turning someone potentially from a sponge for taxpayers' money to an actual taxpayer.
Wait. What does Aiden need?
For Desiree Fasanella, the pressures of caring for an autistic child finally destroyed her marriage. And for much of Aiden's life, she's had to struggle on alone.
Dad leaves and leaves you
He's
with a kid.
big, he's loud, he's cute, he's funny, he's a handful, he's just a dynamo. And he's really difficult to manage. But I love him. When Mr. Crickety came, he played a silly game, and all the kids in the street, they like to do the same.
Does the future frighten you?
Yes, very much. Because he doesn't have a great future, and I'll be his carer till the day I die.
Daniela Dawes will carry the burden of what she did till the day she dies. While the daily battles have ended, there can be no peace.
Every time I see a photo of Jason, I know it's my fault he's not here. And that's really hard.
Do you ever feel you'd still like to be with him?
Yes, every day. Every single day. I don't care how hard it is.
But you killed
It
him.
was very special.
Not special enough. You killed him.
Hello, I'm Liz Hayes.
Okay, that's the end of that video. I just wanted to share it with you guys. But yes, she can say he was special and she snapped. You still didn't have a right to take a life It was a human being, and he had a right to live. You took that away from him. So I think you deserve to go to jail. I don't care how much you say you snapped and how hard you think it was. As for the other parent that they were showing, yeah, mostly some marriages fall apart because autism takes a lot out of a family, and most of the time the dads are the ones that leave and leaves the mom with the child to fend for her own, because it's easier for you to go and not deal with this, but a mother can't leave her child and just say it is what it is. We can't do that. So it's easier for a man to walk away. But if you're a parent and you feel overwhelmed, you struggle with depression, you sometimes feel like this is it, I'm at the end, I can't do it anymore, there are ways around it. You do not have to kill your child to snap out of it. There are hospitals that you can check your child into, emergency rooms that have psych facilities in it. They will take your child if you feel like you're at that breaking point, so you can get a break. There are respites that you can get in touch with. Even the fire station will take your child from you, the church, the police department. Just ask for help. Ask for help. You don't have to kill the child. Just simply, even if you have to call a neighbor or a family member to come get that child, because you can't do it. I'd rather you do that than kill the child, because at the end of the day, you have to live with it on your conscience, and it is a human being's life that you took, and that you can't bring it back when you feel like you snapped out of it. And now you're back to reality, but you've already committed murder, and murder is murder. Whether the person has autism or not, murder is murder. So if you feel overwhelmed, please seek help. Fire station, emergency room, police departments, churches, family members, neighbors, friends. Ask anybody to come get that child, but please don't kill them. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.